13-year-old Jayme Closs's suspected kidnapper appeared in court by video on Monday. We learned Jake Patterson told arresting officers, quote, "I did it." Court papers reveal how he chose to abduct Closs in October. CBS News correspondent Jamie Yuccas has the latest details on this case.
With 2 counts of first-degree intentional homicide.
21-year-old Jake Patterson briefly appeared in a Barron County, Wisconsin courtroom via video link, charged with 2 counts of murder, burglary, and the kidnapping of 13-year-old Jayme Closs. The most extensive details of the 88-day saga were revealed through investigative interviews with Jayme Closs and Jake Patterson and laid out in the criminal complaint. On October 15th, Patterson shot Jayme's father, James, in the head with a 12-gauge shotgun through the front door of the Closses' home in the middle of the night. Jayme told officials she and her mother, Denise, were hiding in the bathroom, where Patterson eventually found them. Jayme was in a bear hug with her mother, who was on the phone with 911. Patterson allegedly told Denise to hang up, forced her to tape Jayme's hands, and then shot her. He placed Jayme in the trunk of his car. Closs said she heard sirens drive by a short time after Patterson began driving. Jayme vanished without a trace. Today, the complaint answered how Patterson targeted her. Patterson told authorities he saw Jayme getting off the school bus at her Barron, Wisconsin home after he quit his job at a local cheese shop. He allegedly told police he picked her as the girl he was going to take. He spent weeks planning the kidnapping. He stated he drove by Jayme's house twice to try and kidnap her, shaved his head, and showered to prevent leaving DNA. The community searched for nearly 3 months, not knowing Jayme was just 60 miles away. The complaint describes how Patterson kept her secret. The complaint says Jayme was forced to hide under Patterson's bed. He used storage bins full of weights to keep her boxed in and threatened bad things would happen if she tried to escape. But that's exactly what she did on Thursday. After Patterson left the home, Jayme pushed her way out, put on a pair of shoes on the wrong feet, and left the house.
I have a young lady at my house right now, and she says her name is Jayme Closs.
She was taken to a nearby home where they called 911.
A neighbor just walked up with her to our house and asked us to call 911.
That neighbor was Jeannie Nutter, who stumbled across Jayme.
She said, "He killed my parents. I want to go home. Help me."
11 minutes after the 911 call was made, police pulled over Patterson's vehicle, which, according to the report, he told them, "I know what this is about. I did it." Richard Jones and Charles Glenn are Patterson's defense attorneys.
When you have something like this where there is a confession within the criminal complaint, how does it impact the case?
Well, you have to look at it differently. Obviously, it's not there's not much speculation in there, according to the criminal complaint drafted by a very good district attorney, right? But then you have to still investigate. You have to still look at it. You have to give options to your client.
Jamie Yuccas joins me now from Barron County, Wisconsin. Jamie, describe what happened in court on Monday. How did Patterson respond to all the allegations against him?
Well, I can tell you he appeared via video link, and I watched him very carefully on that. He had an attorney next to him in his jail cell, and as the judge was reading some of the charges, he was actually scrolling through and would answer and be very polite. He would say, "Yes, sir." He seemed to understand everything that was happening. His family was sitting in the front row, his father and his brother. They were sobbing throughout the entire proceeding. Now, of course, that's on the juxtaposition of Jayme Closs's family sitting on the other side at times staring them down. There's been no talking between the two families. What I was told by his defense attorney, though, is that that Jake Patterson's family feels very bad, the family does, and that they haven't spoken to the media or given their side of the story because they feel so terrible for Jayme Closs's family. You could feel that as they started crying inside the courtroom today, but he seemed to understand the 2 murder charges, kidnapping charge and burglary charge against him, and he was set bail of $5 million here in the state of Wisconsin. That would have to be paid in cash. His family would have to come with that. He would also not have any contact under the order with Jayme Closs or any of the people who helped rescue her last Thursday. He will be back in court too, Omar, on February the 6th. So we'll probably learn more, because at a press conference immediately following that court appearance, the district attorney said that there could actually be additional charges added from the county where he allegedly allegedly held Jayme captive for those few months. We don't know what those charges may be, but something may have occurred at that home that the attorneys there would have to charge him with.
To follow up what you were talking about, where is Jayme now? And a little bit farther down the road, will she have to possibly testify in court and relive everything?
Well, you know, I asked the district attorney that specifically as the press conference was taking place, because as you can imagine, this would be just gut-wrenching if this little 13-year-old girl who's already been through so much would have to get on the stand and relive this. So what I can tell you is that Jayme is with her family. She did not appear in court today. She's with her aunt and her cousin. She's calling her her new sister. And she's been smiling and been having fun being back home with her family. The family says they're not pressing her too hard on what happened, that they were told to just kind of let things come out in a natural way. And so right now she appears to be okay. We don't know how the reaction will be now that all these details have been released in the criminal complaint. But when I asked the district attorney if she would have to testify, he said that would be several months down the road. But of course, that's not what they want to have happen. When I asked the defense attorneys if this goes to trial, would you make Jayme testify? They also do not want to have that happen. So if you look at the criminal complaint, her story seems to match up with the confession that Jake Patterson gave. So if it went that far to a trial, because at this point he hasn't even entered a plea, the hope is that maybe what she said the night that she was rescued would stand in court alone, so she wouldn't have to take the stand.
Now, you mentioned you spoke with Patterson's defense attorneys. What kind of strategy are they talking about moving forward?
Well, at this point in time, they're really just talking about making sure that the process is fair. You know, of course, as defense attorneys, it's their job to present a case. At this point in time, since this was just an initial appearance to set that next court date, they really wouldn't give me a lot of information on the strategy, but I pushed them. I said, would you enter an insanity plea? They said, of course, that's something they'd have to look at. I also said, could he enter a guilty plea? There's a lot of details within this confession that happened, and they said, well, we're going to have to go back and make sure there wasn't any type of coercion, that his Miranda rights were read to him, which of course is stated that that happened. So at this point in time, it's really kind of, we're at the very beginning here, and I think even the defense attorneys have a lot to digest after this criminal complaint was released today.
Now, Jayme, you mentioned that Patterson did say, quote, I did it during his arrest. You just said he was read his Miranda rights. Does this actually count as a confession, and do we know how possibly this could be handled in court based on what he pleads?
Well, at this point in time, we really just have to work to figure that out. You know, the criminal complaint will stand as evidence, but it kind of depends on what happens going forward. His defense attorneys are, of course, going to continue to talk to their client. There's going to be DNA collection. There's a number of other steps that need to happen before they can determine if this criminal complaint stands in court. They're also going to, of course, try to talk to other witnesses within the complaint itself. You know, there's family members that came to the home. When we asked the district attorney today if they had talked to some of the other family members that had visited the home where she was allegedly captive for all those months, he said no. So there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. This is really just the first step in the process. I think people are just so horrified to see that he did immediately confess and gave so many details just on the initial questioning with police.
Jayme, thank you very much. As you mentioned, Jake Patterson will be in court again next month, $5 million bond. Jamie Yuccas, thank you.